All right, we got 11 o'clock. I want to be considerate to everyone's time, and some need to jump out. So we're sitting at 47 participants this morning already, and I think we'll probably have a few more join in as we get started. So again, good morning. Dom DeMeo from the Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance. I just wanted to thank you all for coming and listening, as we have a partner in South Tech that's going to give a presentation, hopefully deliver you some additional information in times of what I would call crisis today. I think we'll be out of that crisis, but we don't know when. And Mary and I were speaking earlier, and Mary Doherty's joining us today as well from GCBX, along with some of her members. So together,
I'm on a meeting, but I don't even know if I'm on.
Three partners coming.
There you are. I see you.
Can you mute?
You're putting your ear thing in.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
All right, so I should be back on. So three partners coming together this morning, bringing you content, information, and as an alliance, we will continue to deliver information over the coming weeks this way, hopefully, until we can get back in time where we get back to what Mary said very clearly was a new normal. And hopefully that's sooner than later. So I wanted to thank the Alliance sponsors that we have annually for all that you do for us, and open it up for Mary to say a few words in light of where GCBX comes in support of their members as well. So Mary.
Tom, thank you so much. And thank you, South Tech and the Business Alliance, for the three of us coming together and partnering on this. These are unprecedented times. If you ever asked me if we would live through times, well, that wasn't a good start. But anyhow, we're all scared. We all are dealing with the unknown. But the business groups are here for our members. We're here in a way that we've never come together before. This is just silly. But we so appreciate the Business Alliance for partnering with us on this, and South Tech, and we're here for you, and we will come out of this bigger, better, stronger. So now I'd like to turn it over to Dan, and thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Very, very well said. Definitely strange times we're in, very unprecedented. So we will do what we always do at each luncheon or event. We will kind of do a membership moment. So through Zoom, we can break you up into a breakout room. So you should be prompted to accept the breakout room. We'll do a few minutes of what we call the membership moment, go around, introduce, have a few words, and then we'll bring everyone back in and we'll start the program. So, all right, well, that was fun. I've got everyone muted right now. You can unmute yourself just as we kind of go through the presentation. You can unmute yourself if you want to chime in or put your questions in the chat. Just a few housekeeping items. If you go click on Manage Participants or Participants at the bottom, it pulls up the full list on the right, and you should be able to rename yourself if you're under somebody else's account. That way we know who is on the call, and you are putting on your virtual name tag, as it were. So I'll give everyone a second to look that over. And there's also a raise your hand icon. So if you want to jump in or be called upon, you can do that as well. And we'll see how it goes. So if you've been to any of our events, any of our lunches or programs, you kind of know that I tend to run the tech. I will tell you, we are all learning Zoom at the same time. So thank you all for joining us. We have a great turnout. A little bit of an experiment for us, and we'll learn a lot. And next time we do this, it'll be better. It is an honor to be able to welcome the South Tech team. Looks like we have quite a few of you guys in here. I'll just give a little bit of a shout out. So since 1994, South Tech has been Southwest Florida's premier provider of professional managed technology solutions. I will also just add they're a great community partner, great stewards of the community. I want to thank them for doing this on such short notice. They really put a lot of thought and effort into putting this all together. So I will introduce Henry Taku. He's Business Development and Marketing Manager. Henry, if you want to kind of shout out everyone that's on the call on your team, I'll let you do that. But Henry, take it away.
Thanks. So let me just share my screen so we can get this presentation loaded. All right. Does everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. So no, thanks a lot for the introduction there, Dan. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. So like Dan said, my name's Henry DeCou, and I'm the Business Development and Marketing Manager for SouthTech. I'm also joined today by Chad Goebel. He's our Chief Technology Officer here at SouthTech, and he's going to be helping me with your more technical questions today. There's also some other folks from SouthTech joining us as well. So thanks everyone for coming on board. As I go through my presentation, please feel free to use the chat feature on your screens to submit any questions that you would like answered. We'll have some time at the end of the presentation to try to get through as many questions as possible. So first, I wanted to take an opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about who we are. So SouthTech is what's known as an MSP, which stands for a managed service provider. If a business needs help with their technology, they come to us and we become their IT department to really whatever extent they need us. Because different businesses have different needs, we have 3 major product offerings designed to help our clients. So first, we have a PowerView Manage, and that's what we like to call our complete IT solution. You get remote monitoring, 24/7 technical support, maintenance, client training, strategic planning, all under one fixed monthly fee. Also, we have PowerView Voice, which, as the name suggests, is our unified communications product. Our technicians handle all on-site installations and upgrades, and our office team is going to be the ones that are going to design your voice network around your specific needs. It's a complete communications package that's going to be tailored to your business with no upfront costs. Then we also have PowerView Secure, which is our solution for larger organizations that already have a fully staffed internal IT department and aren't worried as much about support as they are about security and securing their data. The PowerView Secure offering offers 24/7 monitoring, advanced firewall, antivirus software, and all of the security tools and services that we use to keep our clients secure and in compliance. This allows our clients' internal IT staff to support their employees while we secure their data. Lastly, we have the symbol for our Path to IT Paradise, and that's really our process brand. The Path to IT Paradise is a set of principles and key steps that we designed to help companies turn technology into a true business asset, really one that efficiently and effectively propels them towards reaching and exceeding their business goals. Our clients believe that technology is a key driver for their business, and they understand that having the right technology solutions in place will give them a competitive advantage to achieve their business goals. So that includes the ability to go remote in the face of a global event like we're facing today. So we really believe that technology shouldn't just work, it should work for you. That's a little bit about who SouthTech is. So today we wanted to talk to you guys about some of the top security concerns that we've been seeing, some best practices for working from home, discuss some of the tools that we've been recommending, and also answer some of the most common questions that we've been getting asked over the last few weeks. Please note that everything that we'll review today is considered best practice, and there can be unique situations that would require varying approaches. So not everything presented is a hard and fast rule, so just keep that in mind. So in times like these, it's more important than ever to be aware of some of the biggest security risks that have been identified. So the following are just the start of the coronavirus cybersecurity scams that have been brought to our attention. There's going to undoubtedly be more, and we'll keep you guys updated as new news comes in. So the first one I wanted to touch on is the malware map. So what's a malware map? So there's interactive maps all over the internet that are updated continuously and show confirmed cases of COVID-19 around the world. One such map, which was actually originally created by Johns Hopkins University, was used in a malicious scan designed to infect computers with malware. So this is what we call a malware map. The scam was packaged as a Java-based program designed to steal passwords once the malware was infecting the device. There's a real version of the map available through the Florida Department of Health website. So I can give you guys the link after the webinar if you'd like to see a real malware map in action. Next, I want to touch on phishing campaigns. There's a lot of different campaigns we've been seeing where bad actors try to trick individuals into giving up their credentials in ways that seem very legitimate. One aimed at Italian citizens during the country's quarantine actually looked to be an email containing legitimate advice from the World Health Organization on how to handle the virus. The advice was written on a Word document attached to the email, which would immediately install TrickBot software, which is malware software, on the user's device. There's lots of similar campaigns to this out there, but the common theme is that they try to legitimize their scams by impersonating the World Health Organization or other well-known organizations currently in the news. This actually makes these scams easier to detect, as these organizations will never send emails asking people to log in to view information or open unexpected attachments or even enter financial information to donate directly to causes. And then lastly, I want to touch on email security, and I'll be touching on this more as we go through the presentation. But when using email in times like these, you need to be aware of an increased vulnerability that everyone can have to phishing attacks. So remote workers can be particularly vulnerable as panic mode sets in and emails are being rapidly sent back and forth. So there's a heightened chance of someone falling prey to a phishing attack and having their credentials stolen. So what do? It's really the usual rules apply here when it comes to cybersecurity awareness. You want to check the sender address, look for suspicious typos or differences in a sender's email signature, and really you want to go with your gut. If you were not expecting an email, I would recommend calling the sender to make sure it's legitimate whenever you get something like that. So as we transition into best practices, I wanted to begin with some important general do's and don'ts for working from home. So first, we'll start with the do's. So do use a secured Wi-Fi network. If you or your employees are going to be working from home at any point, it's important to make sure that your Wi-Fi connection is secure. Most home Wi-Fi networks are secure. So think of it this way: if you need a password to get internet access, it's probably a more secure network. But please note, you should definitely exercise extreme caution if you're using public Wi-Fi, even if it is secured with a password. And do be hyper vigilant. As we discussed earlier, being extra vigilant when you see emails come in with requests that are out of the ordinary. If you're not expecting an email, again, double check with the sender to make sure it's legitimate. The most important thing that you can do for your safety and your company's safety is to keep a level head and stay vigilant. Next, we have stay active and take breaks. So without the normal workday signals like a commute, it can definitely be harder to unplug. So make sure to take breaks, stay hydrated, give yourself opportunities to clock out from your remote work at the end of the day. I know for me, I tend to start earlier and end later if I don't have a commute. So I'm always trying to be cognizant of that. Next, do have a dedicated workspace that's quiet and free of distractions. You want to find a place where you can concentrate, ideally not on your bed or not on your couch. Do try to communicate more often with your team than you feel you usually need to. So it's always important to continue using these types of programs to communicate with your team on a more constant basis. Do embrace online meetings. So turning video on so your team can interact face to face and feel more connected. I think that's definitely really important. Also, you want to remember to pause frequently to allow time for questions and remind attendees that they can ask questions or use the chat window to share their thoughts. Now I'll touch on some of the don'ts of working from home. So don't use a device that has not been approved by your IT manager. You want to always make sure your employees have their devices checked for security by your IT department. There's security tools that should always be loaded on devices that are being used for work purposes. Don't assume that every email you get concerning working from home is real. As stated previously, a lot of bad actors are trying to take advantage of the confusion out there, and there's a heightened chance of someone falling prey to a phishing attack and having their credentials stolen. And lastly, I have don't turn on the TV. While you might find ambient noise soothing and it might help you focus, having a TV on is likely to prove a distraction to getting stuff done. So I would definitely recommend not doing that. What I would suggest is, if you do need that ambient noise, is having music on for the background ambience, and that usually helps. So I also wanted to touch on some specific technology related best practices. So first, for using your personal devices. If your employees are working from home, they should be doing so from a company approved device. In the best case scenario, you're going to have a device that you were able to take home from the company, such as a laptop for all of your work. Work laptops are ideal for this situation. If that's not possible and you must use a personal device, then that device must be properly secured. This can involve the installation of apps or software that bring the device up to cybersecurity standards of your technology team. If you do need to connect a personal device to your network, there are options available to better protect your work network, and we recommend discussing those options with your technology team to, again, determine the best way to securely connect to your network. Lastly, under best practices, I wanted to touch on multi-factor authentication. So MFA, sometimes referred to as two-factor authentication. I'm sure a lot of you have heard this, kind of a buzzword these days. So it's really a security enhancement that allows you to present two pieces of evidence when you're logging into an account. So your credentials are going to fall into any of three categories. So it's going to be something, one, it's going to be something you know, like a password or PIN, or it could be something that you have, like a smart card or your cell phone, or lastly, it could be something that you are, like your fingerprint. So bad actors have been ramping up their efforts to exploit the vulnerable businesses. So there's a heightened chance that someone is going to fall prey to a phishing attack and have their credentials stolen. So if that happens, you're going to want to make sure to have multi-factor authentication set up, because with MFA, even if a hacker successfully steals an employee's credentials, they won't be able to do anything with them, because by requiring a second mode of verification, you're going to be able to protect your business critical data even if the employee is compromised. So now that we've discussed some general rules for you and your employees to follow, let's get into some specific tools that you can download and install to make the transition to remote work as smooth as possible. So first, I want to touch on security and connection tools. So remote monitoring and management software is used for network management and asset monitoring for your IT system. So these are the tools that they typically come with features that allow your IT team to track issues, monitor systems, and automate maintenance of the devices. They can also help your IT team discover new assets and detect issues and resolve them remotely. So these are the types of tools that we use for all of our customers to manage and monitor them remotely. Next, we have antivirus software, which is pretty well known at this point, but it's very important to keep it up to date and keep it active. It searches for known threats and monitors the behavior of all programs, flagging suspicious behavior, and it seeks to block or remove malware as quickly as possible from your device or your network. We also recommend tools such as reputation-based web filtering and end-user training as additional layers to your antivirus services. Next, I want to touch on remote connection tools. These are the tools that help you securely connect into your office environment from your device at home. So first we have a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. You guys may be familiar with the term. Businesses basically use VPNs to enable remote users to securely access organizational resources that are at the office, such as an application server that's hosted on premises at your office. It can also be used to secure the internet sessions of users who are accessing the internet from outside the office. VPNs may not be necessary for users that don't need to access programs hosted at the office. If your employees only use programs that are web-based, they may not need a VPN license. Remote desktop service is one of the components of Microsoft Windows that allows the user to take control of a remote computer or virtual machine over a network connection. There's a little bit of extra setup needed here, and it does require a Windows device, and you would be connecting to another Windows device. So when deploying remote desktop services, we definitely recommend further securing your connection through additional security features like MFA or a VPN. And then lastly, the commercial remote desktop software also allows users to access computers remotely using a web browser. So you can use these types of software to log into multiple computers and on really any operating system. So some examples include GoToMyPC, LogMeIn, TeamViewer, and Remote PC. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with some of those. As always, we recommend discussing your options with your technology team to determine the best way to securely connect your network. And if you're finding yourself scrambling to implement your remote work solution, you may want to reevaluate your disaster recovery plan. We definitely recommend all businesses to have a strategic plan in place to be able to continue working if a situation such as what we are dealing with today arises. Next, I'll touch on unified communications. So a unified communications or UC solution refers to a phone system that integrates or unifies multiple communication methods within a business. So your business is probably communicating in a number of different ways, like phone calls, video conferencing, instant messaging, email, SMS, fax, the list goes on. But a UC solution, what it does is it brings together all the ways that your business communicates and lets them talk to each other so they can work together in one system. So it makes your business a lot more efficient. The great thing about this type of solution is that your business can remain operational in any number of emergency situations. So some of the remote use options include a soft phone application, which turns your desktop, your laptop, or even your smartphone into an extension of your phone system. So we've been using that ourselves with our work from home users. So that's a really good benefit of the system, because someone would dial your extension and it goes right to your desktop soft phone. And then we also have urgent response, which allows you to keep your whole company informed in real time, or you can use it to also send out mass notifications to your clients. You guys may have noticed, probably noticed the schools have been using this all year. Whenever they send out messages or alerts for schools when there were closings, things like that, you would get that phone call and it would be this recorded message. So that's what I mean by urgent response through your unified communication system. So there's a lot of other benefits and options available on a UC system, but I just wanted to briefly touch on some of these. So another way that you can look to unify your teams without a UC system is to look at some options around communication and conferencing tools that are available. So a lot of these tools are very inexpensive, free, or may already actually be included with your existing services with these companies. So first, we're going to talk about Microsoft Teams, which is actually, like I said before, the service that we use in our office. If you already have an Office 365 subscription, it's highly likely that you have access to Teams already included with your subscription. So it's a great communication tool all around in that it offers both instant messaging and video conferencing capabilities. You can use it to chat with or call your coworkers 24/7. And because it is a Microsoft program, it also integrates with all the major Microsoft Office programs like SharePoint or Excel, Word, things like that. So with Teams, your employees can work and chat at the same time, and you don't have to worry about being limited to just people within your organization. You can actually invite someone to a Teams call by just sending them a link. The program has a browser mode, so the person you're calling won't even need to have Teams program installed on their computer. Next, we'll touch on Slack. So Slack is a program that's particularly well known in Silicon Valley, as it's used by several high-profile startup companies. It's been increasing in popularity among many businesses since then. Fun fact, Slack was almost acquired by Microsoft back in 2016, but the acquisition didn't end up going through, and that's probably why Microsoft Teams was introduced as a direct competitor to Slack. So Slack has video conferencing capabilities through the app integrations, but it's best known for its direct messaging features and team news feeds. Compared to Microsoft Teams, its user interface is probably a little bit more customizable, but both options do offer a free plan as well. So it'll mostly depend on your company's preferences, which one to use. Next, we have Zoom, which was founded in 2011, and it's actually older than both Microsoft Teams and Slack. It's been consistently one of the top choices for video conferencing. So Zoom is also the go-to solution for a lot of webinar hosts. And in fact, we are using Zoom to host this webinar right now. So one of Zoom's major advantages is ease of use. People new to Zoom should have little trouble learning how to use it. And like Teams and Slack, Zoom offers a free plan that allows for unlimited one-to-one meetings and group meetings for up to 100 participants with a time limit of, I believe, like 40 minutes. So there are a lot of options available for Zoom, free options available for Zoom, Slack, and Teams. And lastly, I wanted to touch on Skype for Business, which is owned by Microsoft and has really been the industry standard. And it was for a long time the primary video conferencing tool used on the market. Many of us have used Skype in one form or another and are familiar with how it works. We'd wager that there are many businesses that are still using it today. But we did want to point out that end of life for Skype is coming. Skype for Business will no longer be supported after July 31st, 2021. So if you're still using it for your business, Microsoft is recommending moving to Teams, and they have a very good recommended path to migrate over to Teams, and we've been helping a lot of clients move over to Teams from Skype. So there's a lot of options available, but I just wanted to touch on a few of the more popular ones that we see. So here I wanted to answer some of the questions that we've gotten from the Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance community, as well as some of the typical questions that we've been getting from clients over the last few weeks. So the first question that we've gotten is, what should I do if there is a breach? So SouthTech implements our security plans for clients using what's called the National Institute of Standards and Technology Framework. So basically what this is, it's a living document that provides best practices around how to best secure your environment. So one of the steps within the framework is called Respond. And within Respond, basically what they say is when a breach occurs, the best way to avoid panic is to really have an incident response and disaster recovery plan already in place. So this plan is going to outline the steps that you want to take before, during, and after an event happens. So your goal is really to mitigate the damage and then make sure that you, after that event does happen, that you improve the security to avoid future events from happening. So the details of this are a little bit out of scope for this presentation. We actually offer a separate presentation specifically around cybersecurity and how to protect your business using the entire NIST framework. We can get into more detail on that offline if you're looking to put a plan in place like this for your business. But I didn't want to kind of get into the weeds with that one, but there is a lot more behind it, and those are definitely things that we can talk about offline. Next, what is the best ways to share files with my team? So there's a lot of options available for sharing files. Depending on how you were sharing files before going remote, you may still be sharing files in a similar capacity. So for example, if you shared files on a file server and you have a VPN set up while working remotely to access your file server, then you would still share files via your file server through the new VPN connection. If you use something like OneDrive, SharePoint, Box, Google Docs, something like that, or some other file sharing application in the office, these are all considered web-based, so you would continue to use them as you normally would. If you do use a web-based file sharing application, we would definitely recommend using the business-grade version of it, and also turning on multi-factor authentication when using them. So the short answer would be to check with your technology team to see if you're still able to share files in a similar manner, or if they're recommending moving to a web-based file sharing application. Next we have, are we looking at the future of work by bringing so many people up to speed on working remotely? So I think that's probably a question on everyone's mind. So that one's tough to say. I think we'll definitely see a change in how businesses work moving forward because of this. A lot of businesses are going to start to embrace this type of setup moving forward because they'll see how successful it can be, where in the past they might have been hesitant to have a lot of employees working remotely. So will everyone continue to go remote only when things get back to the new normal, which is what we're calling it? Probably not, but I think we will all learn a lot about how to better run a business during the next few weeks and few months, and a lot of what we learn is going to carry over into the future of work. How easy is it to set up a Zoom call? Does everyone need a camera? So like I said before, one of the biggest advantages of Zoom is the ease of use. You can literally go to the website, download the application onto your computer, and log in using a Google or Facebook account. So from there, you just click to start or schedule a call, and you can send out invites via email, or you can copy and paste the invite and send it to them in a chat window, any way that works best. Everyone does need a camera to join a meet. Oh, I'm sorry. The next part of the question was, does everyone need a camera? So everyone does need a camera to join a meeting to use video, but it's not needed, but if you want to use the video, it does make it more engaging. So really the only tool that you need for a remote collaboration application like a Zoom or Teams or Slack is a computer. So a camera and microphone, they really just make it easier to use other methods when you're communicating, and it definitely helps to make it a more interactive conversation. So while we do recommend a camera and a microphone, those tools are definitely not needed, as I'm sure there's people that are connected here today that are not using a camera or a microphone. So, and that's really all this submitted questions that we had. Dan, do you have a list of questions submitted through the chat that we can help answer? And if any of you do have any other questions that you've thought of while I was talking, feel free to add them to the chat now as well, and we'll unlock you guys or Dan for the questions, and Chad, this will be your cue to unmute if I need you to jump in and help me with some of these.
Yep, I am unmuted.
Okay. Well, this guy was able to do that too somehow.
Yeah, great. It's a great time to mow the lawn right now, so I hope everyone can hear me. Just jumping on some of the comments from Chad in the chat. How do you know what your internet speed is at home, and then how do you go about calling up your service provider, and what do you have to tell them to?
Yeah.
They need to know.
Why? What?
I'm sorry, Dan, you're breaking up. Can you mute everyone else and keep yourself unmuted so I can hear you?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
They're mowing the lawn out front, so
I think I got the gist of your question, Dan. I think you were asking how to tell if what internet speed you're getting at your home, and what to do if you're having if you're not getting the internet speeds that you think you should be with your ISP. So generally every ISP has a website that you can go to test your internet speeds. So Comcast, and they're always going to want you to go to their website to test the speeds instead of some of the general internet sites out there. So like Comcast will have a site to have you go to, Frontier will have a site for you to go to, Bright House. So that's the first place to go if you want to test your internet speeds. I will tell you that we have seen a lot of the people working from home have had some internet speed issues. I think it's because of the volume of people that are in their houses working from home. They've got their kids there, they're streaming movies to keep everybody occupied. So I think that we're starting to stretch some of the limitations of the bandwidth that the ISPs have out there. So if it's still working, I don't know that I would recommend calling into your ISP, because as I understand it, the wait times are astronomical. It's just kind of the situation that we're in right now.
great, thanks, Chad. I just want to if you can touch on some of the some of this here in the chat, just in case anyone who might be on the phone. So where does a user go to see if they have Teams on their Office 365?
Sure. So there's a couple places. So Office 365 has a web portal for you to go into to check like your email and get the Office apps. And so you can go to portal.office365.com. You can also go to teams.microsoft.com. And then if you can log in with your Office 365 credentials, then, onto the Teams site, then you're going to have a Teams account. If you go to the portal.office365.com and you log in with your credentials, you should see an icon out there for Teams if Teams is part of your subscription.
Great. And I'm wondering this too. Kelly's asking, what's the difference between Zoom meetings and Zoom webinars? And I'll put that out to the whole community. Raise your hand if you're familiar with Zoom and what the difference between meetings and webinars is.
So I'll jump in here. I'm not a Zoom expert, but I'm assuming it's very similar to Teams. In Teams, you have a meeting and you have a presentation. The difference is in a meeting, everybody can turn on their cameras, turn on their microphones, collaborate. In the presentations, you really just have one or two people that are giving the presentation. Everybody can collaborate through a chat session, but they can't necessarily, turn on their cameras and their microphones to participate in the meeting.
Okay, sounds like that's a little more one way versus a meeting.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. And if you have a very large event you're putting on with thousands of people, obviously you wouldn't want everybody to be able to turn on their microphones and speak. It would just be too hard to control.
Great. Can you touch a little bit on GoToMeeting as a tool?
Sure. So, we could have spent an hour and a half going through various products on that one slide. We just kind of went over the top three that we're familiar with and see out there a lot. But GoToMeeting is also another very well-known business-grade collaboration product out there. So yeah, it's right in there in line with some of the other tools that we talked about.
Very good. Any other questions?
Hey, Dom got the idea of breakout meetings. I used to do trade shows and conferences online, and you can do that. It's really a good thing to do when you have people who want to talk about different things. Way to go, Dom.
Dan, I see another question out there. They were asking about multi-factor authentication for Dropbox. So generally, all of the business-grade file sharing solutions that are out there have some kind of multi-factor authentication capability so that you can use what's called a TOTP code. You might be familiar with it. You have an application on your phone, and you punch in a 6-digit code, or you give them your phone number and they text you a 6-digit code. So once you log in, you actually have to put in another piece of information to prove that you are who you say you are. Hopefully that answers that question.
I've been punching quite a few of those codes in over the last week or two.
Yeah, we all have.
Any other questions? I'm going to copy the presentation. SouthTech team, are you okay to share this with all the attendees after the meeting concludes?
Quick question. My office uses WhatsApp, and it's really kind of good. I like it. Is it safe? It's international. It's free. I love it. No?
Henry, you're muted. I see your mouth moving.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, you are unmuted now. I'm not as familiar with WhatsApp. It's not really one of the applications that we use much. So from a security standpoint, we like to use tools that we have more central control over what everybody is doing and what everybody's using. I think WhatsApp is more just kind of like a texting type thing where everybody's, on their own.
Nope.
Again, I'm not that familiar with the
phone
application.
calls. It is pictures. It's a beautiful thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more of a device that you use on your phone. I mean, people can do business with it, but it's not really something that we see a lot in the business world. So it may work well for your needs, but it's not typically something that we've been seeing a lot of in the.
For an office of 70 people, it's the only way to get up-to-date information. Like what inspector do you use? You get 5 answers. What should I do in this case? Which forms do I use? It's instant answers. And of course, I'm big on instant gratification.
Well, the tools that we talked about, like Teams, Slack, Zoom, all of those, you would have instant messaging and things like that, specifically in Teams and Slack. So it would work similarly. So if
the big
you wanted to look
difference is you have to be on Microsoft Teams and on GoToMeeting, but WhatsApp will, be there for anyone who's available.
I have Teams on my phone, and anytime I get a message, it pops up on my screen right away. So you don't have to have it open.
I have Teams for my commercial group, for my real estate group, and for my friends. So my golf buddies, 4. I have 4 Teams, so I have to be careful.
All right. So any other questions before we wrap up? I think we've taken your time. I want to be thoughtful of where we're at. So we normally have our speakers get a round of applause. So let's do a virtual round of applause if we can for the team.
Dom, can we get a copy of the presentation?
Yes, I believe we're going to be able to do a PDF copy
Okay,
of the
wonderful.
presentation. We talked to Henry about that for Henry. You're okay with that? Am I correct?
Yeah, that's not a problem. We can definitely get that out to everyone. Yeah.
Do we have a YouTube channel for this?
We haven't done that yet, but before we end, I want to thank Henry. We have his information up. We are also embedding it into a survey. So Henry, I don't know if you knew that, but Henry's information will be embedded in the survey as well. Survey will be going out to you all. One, thanking you for being there, but 2, asking you about content and future content. So we're looking at hosting a few other events over the next few weeks, hopefully before we can get back into seeing each other again. And we'd like your feedback on both today and the future. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you to South Tech for putting this on. And I wish you all
Thank
a
you.
safe and happy week.
Thank you.
Yay.
Safe, everybody.
All right,
Happy,
take
happy,
care.
happy.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dan.